KERR9000's game room.
Okay, it's KERR9000, the Chrome-faced man back, and I'm here to talk about, as you'll know from clicking on this video, the N64 game Pokémon Snap. Pokémon Snap came out in 1999 and it is a first-person photography-based game that basically has rail shooter style mechanics. It was developed by HAL Laboratory, which most people probably know for the Kirby games, and it was published by Nintendo for the N64. It released in Japan in March 1999 and then July 1999 in North America, making its way to the PAL regions in September 2000. It's obviously a spin-off game from the main Pokémon series, and it's one of the first big console-based Pokémon games, with Pokémon having got its start obviously as a handheld game. It also features many Pokémon rendered for the first time in proper real-time 3D. Originally, when the title was announced, it was announced as a Nintendo 64 DD title. For those unaware, the 64 DD was a magnetic floppy disk drive peripheral for the N64 game console, which was developed by Nintendo. It was announced in 1995, due to be launched in 1996, but after numerous delays, eventually was released in Japan in December of 1999. It plugged into the extension port on the underside of the console and allowed the N64 to use proprietary 64MB magnetic discs for expanded and rewritable data storage. This unit never made it out of Japan, and only around 10 pieces of software were released for it. So a lot of things that were basically planned for it ended up just being N64 titles, or being dropped altogether, or disappearing into the cube. I've only ever seen one in real life, and the price tag that was attached to it was enough to make me gulp and very quickly walk away. Okay, so back to Pokémon Snap itself. You play as a guy called Todd Snap, and basically the objective of the game is to take pictures of Pokémon with an in-game camera, and you use items such as apples to coax the Pokémon out, and after each round you're judged based on the quality of your photos, whereby, is the Pokémon in focus? Is it doing something interesting? Is it in the centre of the shot? You travel on rails around what is best classed as sort of Pokémon safari environments in a motorised amphibious buggy named the 01. The game's not a particularly long one, but it does have replayability through you wanting to go back through the environments again and try and get ever better pictures. And also, it's a very interesting game in that it's just something different. Particularly when this came out, you didn't see anything like this, and it took the whole Pokémon franchise into different directions. I think it's a great game for the system because there's nothing else quite like it. It was later ported to the Wii, and of course now we have had the sequel New Pokémon Snap for the Switch. But this to me is a brilliant game because it tries to do something different. It takes an IP which people were crazy for and thinks about what else could we do with this. We have these monsters people fight with, but what else can we do with them? Oh, we can have people take pictures of them. We can see them in their natural environment. It really makes the Pokemon themselves feel like real live living creatures, and I think that was a great step for the franchise. I never really read about this game as it was coming. It wasn't something I was particularly excited about in the day. I literally fell upon this game at a car boot by chance, and I didn't even open the first copy of it I got. I bought it for a few pounds sealed, and then when I decided I wanted to play it, I actually brought an extra cartridge. But when you look into the development of this game, I actually missed out on a whole heck of a story here. You see, yes, Pokémon Snap was developed by HAL Laboratory with the assistance of Pax Softnica, but it originally started out as a non-Pokémon game. In fact, it was going to be called Jack and the Beanstalk, named after the English fairy tale of the same name. And yes, the game was intended for the 64 DD, and it was developed at HAL's office on the second floor of the Nintendo Kanda building in Tokyo, by a development team called Jack and Beans, and this name can be seen in the intro video for Pokémon Snap as well as in the game's credits. Jack and the Beanstalk was originally revealed in February 1995, a year before the Japanese release of the Nintendo 64, and then it just wasn't heard from again. No screenshots or videos have been publicly released of this game at all, and little is really known about what the game looked or played like. Speculation has happened that some of the gameplay elements ended up in Earthbound 64, which again is a game that started development in 1994 but was cancelled in 2000. But, you know, this is a game very little is known about, Jack and the Beanstalk. But, you know, that's a strange story. Sometimes you start with one game, you end up with another game. It's not as unusual as you'd think. Particularly not when you've got a company like Nintendo involved who have very high standards, and if something's not living up to what they want, will really just throw something under. After progress in the development of Jack and the Beanstalk was deemed unsatisfactory, the idea arose to turn it into a Pokémon spin-off. Satoru Iwata, one of the producers of the game, explained that Pokémon Snap wasn't a Pokémon game, but rather a normal game in which you took photos, and they didn't really have a clear motivation for why you were taking photos. It was only really when Pokémon were thrown in that there was this motivation of why you'd want to take photos, because they're this animal creature which we're still trying to understand more about, like in the Pokémon games, how you're trying to fill in your Pokédex. I really, really like Pokémon Snap. I would give it an 8 out of 10. And as I've said, one of the things I love about it, yes, it's got nice graphics, it's got a system that makes you keep wanting to come back and better your scores, but it's the fact that it tries something different. So many games are this sort of cookie cutter thing. Oh, shooters are doing well, let's make a shooter. Oh, fighting games are doing well, let's make a fighter. I like when something just comes from out of nowhere and feels like nothing else has before. And it's a shame we didn't get to see what Jack and the Beanstalk would have been. But we got Pokémon Snap out of it, and I think that's a pretty good trade-off. Okay, that's KERR9000 signing off, saying keep on enjoying those games, take care of yourselves and each other. Laters, taters.
A Squaffy Bear production.
Hi, it's KERR9000, the Chrome-Faced Man. I'd just like to say thank you for making it to the end of my video. I've got lots of stuff on my channel, my horror house doing horror reviews, games room doing games, sci-fi station. It's absolutely chock-a-block full. I can also be found on the Retro Gamer U forum, which is full of great people, great laugh. At the end of this video there's going to be some little icons to tick if you want to subscribe, a link to one video, a link to a playlist. I'd also like to recommend the wonderful, talented Just Jessica, who does cosy games like Dreamlight Valley, and is my supportive partner. Thank you ever so much once again for watching my video, and particularly if you follow me, thank you for all your support, and have a great rest of your day.